Hi, guys, and welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show. I'm your host, Moose, and this is my producer, Nick. Our main discussion is about Islam in the 21st century. However, we will critique other religions and ideologies. We condemn any form of discrimination, violence, misogyny, slavery. We do, however, embrace many perspectives and free speech if it is factual and correct, and not based on any hate. Throughout the show, we will be exploring different religious beliefs, practices, and their impact on society, ranging from politics, interpersonal relationships, and mental health of believers and non believers. We hope to create an open dialogue for those who feel they're not heard, especially those who have doubts and have left their belief systems. If you are interested in exploring the complex topic of religion and wish to be part of an honest and open dialogue, this is the show for you. We also welcome feedback and discussion from our audience and listeners. The Gin and Tonic Show is a free speech platform where you can express your ideas without any fear of violence and repercussions or any consequences. Please do join our discussion in the live chat as well as the comments. Thank you for stopping by and enjoy the Gin and Tonic Show.
Good evening. Well, actually, technically, it's an afternoon. Is it? Okay, yeah, an afternoon. Good evening, afternoon, depending on your time zone. My name is Moose or Mustafa. Welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show, and I am joined by a very well mannered, very well cultured, coming into your nightmares, cultured Ginny.
Hello, I'm here to complicate stuff, like
Yes,
always.
like
But
always.
I'm unsure if I will be able to do that this much, considering the themes and subjects that we are going to discuss this time.
Yes, so I know Jinni is usually the designated Arabic Islamic translator generally, but today we're gonna be reviewing. It's gonna be a very Pakistan centric video because we're gonna be talking about the second most popular sport in the world, cricket, and specifically the Pakistani cricket team. And I know I'm going to be doing a lot of the talking and the translating as well too, and reacting to a bunch of things that kind of show like this feels more like a Islamic team than a cricket team, generally speaking. And I apologize, Jinny. I love you. You put up with my. There's a very hardcore inner Pakistani inside of me that loves the sport and is very. I'm probably gonna say some cringy Pakistani things. You're gonna roll your eyes, and you're gonna have the Zamzam water stick on your hand. So so just to explain for those who are unaware of cricket, I'm guessing many of the viewers from the UK, from like or who are from the Pakistani diaspora or Indian diaspora would be familiar with the sport. But generally speaking, it's very similar to baseball. It's it's a sport where you like a person a team is batting and a team is bowling. A ball just throws the ball, you try to hit the ball, you score, and then the team that scores the most wins. Kind of the most bare bones way I can explain it. Very similar to baseball. If you've seen baseball, you kind of have an idea what we're talking about. Now, the topic generally we're dealing with today is how, you know, like how dogmatic this sport has become, rather the environment of the sport. And it's not just the sport I'm going to focus on, but also it's just a reflection of Pakistan as a country. Not long ago, I actually did a quick video on the blasphemy. I reacted to the blasphemy issue, which someone described it as they're just like zombies or robots. They just suddenly awaken and start attacking people. So that's the issue with blasphemy. Now, this kind of ties into the general theme of Pakistan. It's not so much religiosity, but rather called the display of religion, so to speak. It's like not just the display, but also making it part of your life, and also kind of it's infiltrating your mind such that it's become almost like you've become so dogmatic that you're um yeah, that you're basically you lack that instinct to even play or do your job. Like it's become like they cannot athletes cannot even separate the two spheres, which is religion and their sport, in specifically the Islamic religion and the sport. I'll actually display some videos reacting to. One second, I'm just going to share the screen. So this is a video by Syed Muzammil. He says that it's Pakistan cricket's IQ problem. There's an IQ issue. I know I turn on the subtitles, but I will try to translate as much as possible. So let's begin. I hope you guys can see this. Let me just
आप उसको भी इंडोर्स करें। तो मैं आज से कुछ अर्सा पहले 2 पाकिस्तान टीम के प्लेयर से मिला और
So I met 2 Pakistani players fairly recently.
और उसमें एक उस वक्त के वाइस कैप्टन भी थे, आपको मालूम होगा कि
There's one of them was the vice captain of the team. You probably know who he
इनकी
is.
बात कर रहा हूँ, नाम लेना मुनासिब नहीं है। उन्होंने जिस तरह की मेंटालिटी मैंने ऑब्जर्व की वहाँ पे मुझे आइडिया हो गया कि ये टीम तो क्या इसके बाद आने वाली टीमें भी कोई वर्ल्ड कप नहीं जीत सकती, कोई
So when I talked to him, I got this idea of this mentality that this team won't not just won't win the World Cup, but it won't win any other World Cups following. Now, I'm going to give a little context here as well too, because very recently, the Pakistani cricket team had probably the worst World Cup campaign in history, losing to a team like USA, which was a fairly new team in the world of cricket. So, this is kind of like a reflection of the dogmatic mindset that they don't have there's so many other factors for sure that contributed to the loss and the elimination, but the main factor I want to talk about is the dogma.
बड़ा टूर्नामेंट जीत नहीं सकती बिकॉज मेंटली दे वर सो ऑल ओवर द प्लेस कि मुझे शॉक लगा ये सुन के जब मैंने पूछा कि वर्ल्ड कप में जा रहे हैं क्या माइंडसेट है आपका, उन्होंने कहा कि आपको पता है हम तो दुआओं से ही जीतते हैं.
So the response of the player is like hum duaon se jeete hain, which means like the journalist, he asked like, oh, what's your mindset, what's your strategy, what kind of mindset you have before going into the game. And he's like, you already know we win by du'as or supplications or prayers. Like what?
एक प्लेयर जो अभी वर्ल्ड कप में गया नहीं है उससे पहले वो ये बात कर रहा है कि हम दुआ से जीतते हैं, तो उसका हाल क्या होगा? पहली चीज ये कि मेंटली आप ग्राउंड में उतरने से पहले ही हारे हुए हैं, ठीक है?
Like I get it. He says that you've already lost. If you're a kind of player who relies on prayers, you've already mentally lost before even entering the ground.
दूसरी चीज ये है कि जब मैंने ये पूछा ग्राउंड में उतरने से पहले क्या स्ट्रैटेजी होती है, क्या माइंडसेट होता है, तो जवाब ये मिला कि हम वजू करके जाते हैं। हालांकि मैंने कोई मजहबी सवाल नहीं किया.
So he asked them, what do you do before you enter the ground? And the player's response was, we perform wudu. And wudu, Ginny, you can also kind of elaborate, is
it's cleaning yourself before entering a prayer
prayer.
or certain other ritual acts, such as when you do web or slaughtering of animals and such.
Yeah, and it's strange though. What relevance does a voodoo have to a sport that you're about to play?
I mean, it's something that you do before to ritually cleanse yourself before doing a sacred act. It's
Yeah.
kind of strange because they are treating this sport like,
A
kind of
religion.
like a religion, like a holy act or a holy event. Is
Yeah, and
cricket as popular in Pakistan? That this is
it is the most popular sport.
because this reminds me about the football teams in Sweden, which is a very secular country, mind you.
Yeah.
But in certain football teams, they have prayers before starting it. So it's kind of similar, and it's kind of interesting because Sweden is like very secular, and most Christians aren't believing at all. But when it comes to sport, they begin to pray.
Yeah, and it's so funny. Like I get it. Even some Latin American countries or South American countries have very religious Christian players too. We're not denying
It's kind of like interesting how religion and sports intermix. I mean, because there isn't this obvious connect between them. They are quite different things.
Yeah, and it's like how religious you are really does not impact how you play. You know what I mean? Like it really has no.
I mean,
benefit.
you could argue that it's connected to like teamness and tribalistic closeness for the team and such, but
It's not a guarantee.
but you see also similar things historically for sports where you are an individual doing this stuff.
Yeah, as an
I mean,
individual, I can understand. Like I am a professional
Alright.
wrestler, right? And I have some professional wrestlers who do perform a prayer separately before their
all right,
match,
yeah, all right.
which is understandable, very understandable. Yeah, you were saying. Sorry, I cut you off.
All right, yeah. I'm just, for me, it's kind of like a baffling phenomena because this seems to be bigger than just Pakistan.
Yeah.
I mean, in my experience, I used to play soccer a lot when I was, or football. I will call it football. 'Cause that is
Yes.
what it should be called.
Yes. Yes. Okay. I know. Am I getting a little too excited? But
Yeah.
I know brief history. We cannot blame myself, the Canadians, or the Americans. Please don't blame the Americans or Canadians because the word term soccer came from the UK, and it was the British who called the sport soccer football or association football. That's where the term evolved from. And soccer is just the what do you call it? The slang term for association football. So it became shortened for soccer, and then North Americans got the slam for it, even though it was the Brits who fucking invented this damn word.
But they adopted it and used it to, make football into soccer only. Anyway, I mean, you used it to differentiate from their American football. But I mean, when I say football, I mean soccer because that's what we, do it here in Sweden. We do not play American football because that's only in America. But when it comes to I have had experience playing football and being in clubs, and it wasn't unusual to not professionally, but when I was a kid, I was in the youth organization, and it was usual that you had prayers before every match.
Yeah, and it was.
I mean, you could if they were always open. If you are not a believer or if you're not following Christianity, you can skip it.
Yeah. Now the problem, which we'll discover in the Pakistani team, is that they all have this mentality, and the mentality kind of exceeds to other players who are forced to join. Like some players who don't want this outwardly display get pushback from this. So they've I'll show you some what do you call it? I should not show you. This the Sayyid Muzammal also talks about this, but yeah, let's see what.
किया उन्होंने भी कोई गलत जवाब नहीं दिया, लेकिन इससे उनकी इनोसेंस का अंदाज़ा लगाइए कि वो क्रिकेट की क्राफ्ट में और अपनी आइडियोलॉजी में फ़र्क ही नहीं कर पाते। कोई प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस उठा के देख लीजिए।
Yeah, so he says that they're so innocent, they're so like gullible that they cannot separate the sport from the ideology. Because this journalist, he was expecting them to talk about strategy. He said, I didn't ask a religious question. I didn't ask them to do that. I asked them, like, what's your strategy? And it's just prayers, thoughts and prayers, or, just prayers like that. So, I'll actually, like, this is a pretty long, by the way, I recommend this video if you can understand Urdu and watch it with subtitles. Um, so it's a fairly like lengthy video. 1 second.
कोई सेंचुरी भी कर दी हो, किसी प्लेयर ने 5 आउट कर दिए, उसे एक्सप्लेन नहीं करना आता कि मेरा प्लान क्या था ग्राउंड में। वो ये बता नहीं पाता कि ग्राउंड में जो मैं कर रहा था, उसमें मैंने क्या मेथड अप्लाई किया। अगेंस्ट दिस अगर आप
Now, he says that every press conference of a Pakistani player usually involves what do you call it? Anytime they achieve a milestone, they are unable to explain how they were able to achieve the milestone. It always goes to some religious response, and then the press conference is over. So I'll give you an example of the press conference, that is. So, okay, this was Shaheen Shah Afridi. He's the son-in-law of a former cricket player called Shahid Afridi. He was the captain at this time. He was removed from captaincy. So, this is how he starts the press conference. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is how he starts the press conference. And I'm actually going to go towards the end. So he's asked about the performance of the team towards the end of the video. He's asked about the performance of the team, and just I kind of cringed at the response.
ऑस्ट्रेलिया सीरीज से तो जीत जो है वो डिस्टेंस बढ़ता जा रहा है। देखिए मुश्किल के बाद आसानी है, ये तो हमें मानना चाहिए। यूसुफ अलैहिस्सलाम को कुएं से उठा के मिस्र का बादशाह बना दिया था अल्लाह ताला ने, तो हम भी उम्मीद पे।
So he says that difficulties come before something easy. Now, even Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, was this is what he's saying. He was in a well, trapped in a well, and Allah Mia got him out and made him king of Egypt. So we should believe in this. Like, we should believe in ourselves because of this. And yeah, some people actually did say Tawbah Tawbah Astaghfar as a response to this, actually. Tawbah Tawbah Astaghfar. So what do you think, Jinni? That he used the example of Prophet Joseph.
I do not want to add any commentary to this.
Are you cringing already in your corner, Jenny?
I deny every accusation.
I think you're descending into your dark realm, and because this is so cringe. It was so cringe how he.
I'm going back to the bottle.
I'm sorry, Jenny. I know you feel embarrassed. It's like, dude, you're in front of international media. Like, what the hell is this a response? Like, I get it, it's an inspiration story, but what? It was so funny. This is so funny. Like, so yeah, we should believe in ourselves because Prophet Joseph faced the same thing, Now, there's a story also, like, this is talking about just the mindset of not this is an interview by a Pakistani politician, Sheikh Rashid. This was after Pakistan beat India after, I think, years and years. They beat India after on a World Cup platform. So I'm going to show you Sheikh Rashid's response to this. Share screen. Just going to say. So he's a minister. He's one of the ministers. He's a member of parliament. He was serving under Imran Khan, the former prime minister. And he's been under many regimes, by the way. Like he was also serving under Musharraf's regime too. So let's see.
मैं आज सारी पाकिस्तान की कौम को इस फतेह अजीम पर मुबारकबाद पेश करता हूं और जिस जुर्रत, वलवले, तनतने, दबदबे और बहादुरी से पाकिस्तान की टीम ने अपने रवायती हरीफ को शिकस्त दी है उसको मैं सलाम पेश करता हूं.
So he says that I am congratulating the entire nation of Pakistan for the act of bravery and valor in which they defeated their ideological opposition, because India is a Hindu country, so they defeated their ideological opposition.
और आज सारे आलमे इस्लाम में पाकिस्तान ने अपनी सलाहियतों का लोहा मनाया है. मुझे
So Pakistan displayed its skill in the realm of Islam.
अफसोस है कि ये पहला हिंदुस्तान पाकिस्तान मैच है जो मैं कौमी जिम्मेदारियों की वजह से ग्राउंड में नहीं खेल सका, लेकिन
I am upset that I was not able to be there on the ground. This was the first Pakistan-India match I was not be able to the ground because of my duties, my political duties.
मैं तमाम ट्रैफिक को इस्लामाबाद रावलपिंडी हदायत की है कि कंटेनर हटा दिए जाएं ताकि कौम अपने जश्न को तारीखी तरीके से मनाए.
So I recommend all of Rawalpindi, Islamabad, Lahore to like open their there are some what do you call it, checkpoints, open the checkpoints so that people can celebrate in the streets for this historic moment.
और पाकिस्तान की टीम को, पाकिस्तान की कौम को मुबारक हो. आज हमारा फाइनल था, हमारा फाइनल.
So today was our final. Congratulations to the entire Pakistan. No, don't go to that video. Damn it, YouTube, calm down.
मैं आज सारी पाकिस्तान
Wait, where was I?
दिए जाएं ताकि कौम अपने जश्न को तारीखी तरीके से मनाए और पाकिस्तान की टीम को, पाकिस्तान की कौम को मुबारक हो. आज हमारा फाइनल था, हमारा.
So congratulate the entire Pakistani nation, Pakistani team, because today was a final, even though this was just a group stage game, by the way. So they've already accepted victory. And by the way, they lost in the semis in this World Cup.
हमारा फाइनल आज ही था और दुनिया के मुसलमान समेत हिंदुस्तान के मुसलमानों के उनके जज्बात पाकिस्तानी टीम के साथ थे.
So all of the Muslim world's passion, along with the Indian Muslims' passion, was with the Pakistani team.
सारी आलम इस्लाम को फतेह मुबारक हो. पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद, इस्लाम जिंदाबाद.
So congratulate the entire Muslim world. This was a victory for Islam. Pakistan Zindabad, like he said, Islam Zindabad.
To be honest, I don't know if cricket is any big in any of the Arab countries.
Right? Like, what is he talking about? Like, the Arab world cares about soccer or football. They don't give a crap about cricket. Like the way he said it, oh my goodness. Like it was, and like, yeah, Bacon Muncher he says in the World Cup, Pakistan has lost 16 times and only won once. Where was Allah and Islam and Muhammad? Like, yeah, where was this all? And the irony, Ginny, is that okay, you beat India, it's a victory of Islam, but then Australia beat you in the semifinals of that World Cup. So was it a victory for secularism? Was that a victory for Christianity? I don't get it. And by this,
Mose,
yeah,
Mose, it was the will of God.
God damn it, it's a will. Damn it, it's a will of Allah to test them, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Damn it, I always fall into this trap. Like, what is this logic?
But don't you see, it was the will of God for the Muslims to succeed when they win in any sport, and when they lose, it was God's will too that they don't win as punishment.
Yeah, I also I also accept my salam, ya Junaid. What are you talking about, Mulhid al-Islam? What are you talking about? Wait, and I'm just reading. Cricket is the game of Hazrat Iblis or what?
He is kind of correct in that I find this mixing of religion and sports to be kind of interesting and kind of,
it's Hazrat
strange
Iblis.
from an Islamic, standpoint.
Wait, why is he saying Hazrat Iblis Saleh Allahu Alaihi Wasallam? No, give me that stick. Jenny, give me that stick. Whack, down, boy, down,
Sure.
down. No, Iblis.
I mean, I kind of look at it. I mean, games generally are forbidden. Playing
Aren't they?
normal games, and sports are kind of game-like, aren't they?
Yeah, but wasn't there a ruling against sports? I don't know.
I mean,
the scholars.
I mean, you do have things like archery being, not only halal but even mustahsan as seen as good.
What about wrestling? The sport of wrestling.
Wrestling was also done in the past, and also one of those things that even Muhammad himself practiced, if I'm not entirely wrong.
Yes. Like, I know Muhammad himself was engaged in a wrestling match. Yes. So,
and you do have Pirasiya manuals, manuals, which are about the knightly arts.
Yeah. So, like, there's the archery is, I think, accepted. Apparently, Zakir Naik said boxing is not halal though. Like, he said boxing was haram in one of his videos. He was asked like, what is this? My only place is Safa and Marwa. God damn it! Stop it, Mulad. Judy, do you want to play this sport? oh man, Judy, give me that stick.
Yeah,
it's like whack, down, boy, yeah. Down, boy, down.
Yeah, so you do have things like Furusia, which are like everything that has to do with riding and knightly arts almost. It's kind of like wrestling and such are included into it. Archery, sword fighting.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of stuff that are sports today, and were considered kind of sports like today, back then, but also had a utilitarian purpose.
Yes, absolutely.
So you could make arguments in that direction too.
That you can say, oh, sport is not necessarily haram, like it is because we've had sports in the past. And I think the ruling on sports is not very strict, at least from my memory. Correct me if I'm wrong, though.
I mean, you also have to remember that sports is a very natural thing that it's also practical to do it because it builds team spirit when it's done for like in team groups. It also hones your skills when it's related to, for example, warfare or something.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, archery and jousting, for example.
Yes.
And wrestling.
Yes. So it kind of does play wrestling, especially.
Do Arabic wrestling was actually less wrestling and more like MMA, in that they actually allowed
Punches, right?
Actually not punches, but they allowed elbow strikes.
No way. Okay, so it kind of sounds similar to Muay Thai, if anything. Very
Yeah,
Muay Thai like.
yeah, but it was kind of like you weren't allowed to do extended strikes. Like you weren't allowed to actually kick with the foot.
Okay.
But you were off or strike with the flat or the fist of the hand. But you were allowed to elbow strike and do hammer strikes.
Right.
And do kneeing and
Okay.
grapple.
Okay, so this is more similar to what professional wrestling or WWE style of wrestling used to be before it became
You mean
a
back
in the
when it
50s.
was Lucha Libre or
Lucha
what
Libre.
it's
Yeah, lucha, like more similar to luchador, like very 1900s, 1920s, 1930s, 40s, 50s pro wrestling. Very similar to that. It's also called catch as can wrestling. It's called catch as can wrestling as well. So, so I think it should be it's similar to that.
Only that this wasn't actually staged.
Right? Yeah,
Was
yeah,
it
of course.
back?
Yeah,
this was actually a combat thing, and the reason they even describe it in these Furusia manuals, that the reason why you are not going to strike with the hand is that you or with the foot is that if you begin to learn to strike with the foot, then you will learn bad footing, because the last thing you want to do is get on the ground. And it's also, you aren't to strike with the hands because the hands should always hold a weapon.
Interesting.
But
interesting.
You can't strike with a weapon and strike with your elbow at the same time, and strike with your knees without risking.
Because in hand combat, like armed combat, this would make sense because your elbows would be used to strike the enemy if you're clashing swords, for example.
Yeah.
So this makes sense. This makes a lot of sense.
And if you I don't know if you have seen it, but those that do these very long-legged kicks, they usually expose a lot of their body to counter strikes, and they also risk falling down if you strike at the right moment. But if you just do a quick kneeling, even if you miss the knee with the knee, it can quickly go down on the ground and just make your footing firm.
Yeah, because
and it's also more powerful if you think about it. It travels a shorter distance, and if you are fighting against another dude that are in armor, which was also the traditional thing that they actually did wrestling in heavy chainmail armor.
Yeah, like
in extreme heat. Remember, this was actually pretty tough, but not like that.
Yeah, I can see like even the knee brace, like the knee having a sort of like an armor brace as well.
Yes.
So it can assist with, like, it can kind of protect the knee joints, but also like kind of deliver a good blow to like the waist, or like even the lower below the belt too. So like
they also have pretty interesting arm locks as well. In how you turn someone to, how you throw them to the ground, or how you try to get into how you manipulate the center of gravity in order to throw someone, or a lot of it is also to get the opponent into various positions where you press against the joint's natural movement.
Yeah, because now it makes it interesting. This kind of wrestling, or at least like a wrestling maneuver, would be very useful in war times. That is, in a battle, it would be very useful having.
I mean, consider if you have another have extended their arm and you've gotten them in the opposite direction of the joint movement.
Yeah.
And you strike, then you're going to break it out of the joint if you strike right there at that moment.
Yes, absolutely. Also, by the way, as back to the
I went
subject
back into
matter.
older Arabic, wrestling because it served a very practical purpose, and it was it's quite interesting in that the limits that they imposed were limits that were imposed for practical reasons rather than limits of safety.
Yeah, but then it was kind of our response to like, what does the Islamic world have to do with Pakistani cricket? You know what I mean?
We went on a kind of side note, but medieval wrestling is kind of interesting.
Yeah, like I know it's like I feel like medieval wrestling would have more, or even wrestling in general would have more significance than cricket, at least in the Arab world.
Yeah.
So like, and of course, Melita said, "Come on, Jenny, how can you allow a camel? I mean, man versus camel. Boy, calm down, boy, calm down." So anyway, calm down. All right. So this is kind of like also like people are sharing videos like, mashallah, this player, he's offering prayers in the middle of the ground in front of a stadium. So now, here's the problem with this. Like, I get it, you want to pray, but like, isn't there music playing in the background? And shouldn't we be focused on the game, like warm up or something like that? You know, like, why are you doing it in front of a crowd? Like, this is the kind of stuff that's like very like overtly sharing. Very like displaying piety, so to speak. This is a kind of a display of piety. So I'll show you an interesting article about this too, like what happened. Um, so apparently, let me show you. This is the middle of the article, by the way, and this is a former cricket player also saying something so ridiculous. It's mind-numbing, honestly. Let me just share the screen because there's so much to share. So, this is Waqar Yunus, and a former Pakistani cricket player, by the way. He said Rizwan offered namaz during India versus Pakistan match in the middle of Hindus was most satisfying thing. Mashallah, even more than his batting. What? Of course, this guy would later on went to apologize for his controversial remarks, saying that he made the comment in the heat of the moment. So it's kind of like Kanaria, Danish Kanaria, who was a Hindu player, by the way. He said performing namaz in front of Kafir Hindus was more important than the match. That's the problem. And I think that's the problem with the mentality itself, too. It's like you're performing namaz in front of quote unquote idol worshipping Hindus. That was the highlight instead of his game. And it's like, why the fuck would you say that? Why would you say that? And people called him out on it. And but by the way, any comments, Jinny? Any comments to like, the act of piety?
This is just performative.
Right? It's extremely performative. And it's like, very like the mentality. Look at the mentality. It's like, mashallah, this was satisfying. Like, what the fuck are you doing? So this article, by the way, is about Danish Kanaria, who used to be a player in Pakistani cricket team, who was the only Hindu, by the way, in the team. And this is, by the way, this happened to by a Pakistani cricket player who, even though they lost, like this is the kind of mentality that he did, like he portrayed in front of one of the players of the Sri Lankan camp.
also for the victory, and Sri Lanka winning by 7 wickets to
Okay, if you're non-Muslim and you turn Muslim, no matter what you do in life, straight to heaven.
the Duckworth Lewis rule, and I'll just explain to people.
He said, I'm not interested, probably. He's like, then be ready for the fire.
Why it is the Duckworth Lewis rule? Because of the 48 overs and the rain in.
Like, what are you? Are you doing the dawah or are you there to play a game? You know? Like, what the fuck is this? Like, you know, it's. And he's like, be it in the dressing room, the playground, or the dining table. This happened to me every day. And this is one of the players who opened up that in the past this used to happen a lot to him when he was playing.
I mean, at least I think he was well paid.
Who?
This Danish.
Oh no, he was well paid. That's aside. I think I'm talking about more the locker room environment was very like like very dogmatic, so to speak, extremely dogmatic. So, and like, why is Ahmed Shahzad, this player called Ahmed Shahzad, he's telling this other Sri Lankan player, you should accept Islam, you're straight to heaven. Otherwise, you go to fire. It's like, why? Why are you doing that in the middle of a game? You know? Like actually, no, this is after a game, by the way, after you lost. So, someone even said, like, Rizwan, he dedicated his victory to like the victims of Gaza. I'm like, okay. Like next time, dedicate your victory to humanity. Almighty never support. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't dedicate it anymore to anything except that I won or that our team had good, team spirit or worked well together or we trained good or anything like that. I mean, those that always bring in politics and religion in their games probably do it more for the clout chasing than they actually do care about the issues.
Yeah, and it's like I think the Gaza thing he did was just for the clout. That is, it was probably just for the just the attention. Danish Kanair also shared an interesting tweet as well of like, God damn it, Mulahid, Dawa all the time, 24/7, 365, only comes down at night. Boy, Allah is everywhere. Remember that. So, and this was a statement by Shoaib Akhtar when he would, like, again, he's defending the Hindu player, right?
उन्होंने इस ग्रेस पे बात की, लसानियत पे बात की, मुझे बहुत गर्मी आती थी। यार कोई हिंदू है ना, वो खेलेगा पाकिस्तान, और उसी हिंदू ने टेस्ट सीरीज जिताई। मैंने कहा अब बोल कनेडियन, और यार मैंने कि सर ये यहाँ से खाना क्यों ले रहा है? मैं क्या, मैं तुम्हारे उठा के ना तुम्हें उठा के तेरे मुल्क को अगर 6 आउट कर दे रहा है, नाम मेरा चल गया इंग्लैंड सीरीज में, जिताई तो समी और उसने दारिश ने जिताई नहीं सीरीज।
So he's saying that, like, he got mad at someone saying that, why is this Canaria guy, who's a Hindu guy, by the way, eating with us, eating from here? And Shoaib Akhtar, even though he's a Muslim, he got mad. And he's like, this is the guy who made us win. This is the guy who helped us win. It doesn't matter if he's a Hindu. He's playing for us. He's part of our team.
Yeah. I mean, that just destroys team spirit when things like this happens. And is this guy the one that got angry, the team captain or something like that?
Yeah. He said the team manager.
Yeah. I understand his perspective. I would be angry too because he's responsible for keeping the spirit of the team alive in order to make them motivated to do their absolute best with each other.
Yeah.
In order for them to get to victory.
Yes. So, and Shoaib Akhtar, even though he's a religious man, he's not a displayer, and he, like, for him to say that, that's like quite a big deal actually in Pakistan too. Like, it's, he says that he's standing up for somebody, which I admire him for that. I admire his and also, like, he's concerned with team unity. rather than dogmatic differences or religious differences, so to speak, because he's representing our country. So that should be more important than, what do you call it? This person, like, not, should not be able to eat from the same place. Like, why? Why? What difference does that make? So it's this kind of like discriminatory attitude it's quite prominent actually in Pakistani society. It's just a reflection of the Pakistani society. Now, I'll also go into an article which explores the history behind this. So there's a history. By the way, this is a long article. It talks about politics. It talks about class differences. So, but I'll be focusing. So there's the class differences. There's the ethnic differences and sectarian history. So we're gonna go to the faith aspect of the article because I think that one we're actually focusing on. By the way, interesting article. I highly recommend you guys read it because it talks about the history of Pakistan as well as the sport itself too. So I'm just going to go down to the faith sect. So the faith bait. So till the arrival of Zia in July 1977. By the way, Zia-ul-Haq was the dictator, Zia, who ruled from Pakistan from 1977 to 1988. He assisted the United States and the Taliban and the groups in the Afghan war against the USSR. He played a crucial role in, trying to Islamize and radicalize the northern regions of Pakistan and Afghanistan. So he had a big hand in that. So his dictatorship was very like, we should have Islamic laws only. That 11-year tenure left a huge impact to Pakistan's environment to this day. Till the arrival of Zia in July 1977, the nature and culture of Pakistan's cricket teams were quite like that of society. Faith hardly played a major role outside of one's home or mosque or shrine, never in the matters of business, arts, and sports. However, it is also true that even during the height of Zia dictatorship in the 1980s, when draconian laws were introduced in the name of Islam, and extremist and sectarian organizations were emerging with the help of the state, the impact of these laws and emergencies would not be fully felt by the polity and society of Pakistan until after Zia's demise in August of 1988. When Zia's regime initiated through certain constitutional amendments, laws, and a project of social engineering that saw the first time the state providing space and patronage to a number of evangelical and Islamist organizations, worked as a seed that bloomed into the proliferation and radicalization and conservatism witnessed in the Pakistani society from the mid 1990s. So yeah, it had like this effect on the society in general. And remember, it was during Zia-ul-Haq's time in 1986 where Parliament proposed the death penalty for the blasphemy laws, which was Section 295C, which introduced the death penalty. And it only focused on disrespecting not just Islam, but Muhammad and his companions that could result in a death penalty. So this was during this regime in 1986. So it was during Zia-ul-Haq's regime that this, and I think Jinni and I, we talked about the history of the blasphemy laws in Pakistan. I need you to read the reason for Zamaz and is to show the strength and put dar. Okay, dar means fear into the dil of non-Mu'mineen. I mean, it's to put fear in the hearts of non-Muslims. Gosh damn it, Mulhid al-Islam. God damn it. YouTube is heavily censoring my comments. Marde Mu'min, Marde. Damn it! I'm gonna smack you with a stick. Mu'min is al-Haq. Boy, I'm gonna smack you with that stick.
Here is the stick.
Right, whack! Down, boy! Down! Down, boy! All right. This is my reaction. Down! Okay. So, this trend, I need to, you know what, Jenny? I need to get that sound effect for the stick too. Okay, so Though things like celebrating victories with champagne and beer in the dressing rooms of stadiums stopped after 1977, the practice largely continued whenever Pakistan won a game abroad. So before 1977, they used to celebrate with beer and champagne. The practice of attending parties and clubs while on tour also continued, and the faith of a player remained to be a strictly personal matter. Also, there remained great tolerance within the team on matters of religion and morality. For example, in Mushtaq's team of 1970s, the majority of players liked to drink, but then there were those who didn't, like Majid Khan, Imran Khan, and Iqbal Qasim. Similarly, by the way, Imran Khan eventually became Prime Minister of Pakistan, whereas Imran Khan, Wasim Raja, and Sarfraz Nawaz were notorious for being womanizers and party animals. There were also those who were private about their lives, such as Majid and Asif. Differing moralistic dispositions hardly ever became a bone of contention between the players. And yeah, these are pictures of them celebrating a victory, shirtless too, with a beer as well. Sadiq, he's enjoying a beer. Now, the tradition continued under Imran's captaincy in the 1980s. A majority of players loved to party like their skipper meaning captain. But then there were also those who partied as well as mixed their faith with the sport. For example, Miadad, when performed wuzu, Muslim ablution, I think ambulation is, before going into bed, and Abdul Qadir regularly prayed 5 times a day. Yet both also had a keen sense of having fun of all kinds. And I'm like, I actually don't have a weird problem with this, because it's like you also have a time and space for faith, but it's only your individual sense. But you're also having a time to party, and you're also like not dogmatic or forcing your beliefs on anybody. Never were their spiritual practices exhibited by them in public as something that was morally superior compared to the others. And this is, by the way, Imran at a nightclub with Sarfraz in 1981 in Australia. By the late 1980s, Zia's Islamization project, which in a way was using faith to actually institutionalize the act of exhibiting moral self-righteousness, had begun to kick in. The first echo in the cricket team rang in the shape of Qasim Umar. Qasim Umar was a dashing young batsman or batter from Karachi. He had cemented his place in the side in the early 1980s with a string of good scores. Though not particularly religious at the time, he struggled to fit in the squad, whose members were outgoing, had raging hormones, and, he would later claim, drank too much. Omar was unable to bond with the players, but the straw that finally broke the camel's back in this regard was during his tour of Australia. Captain Imran Khan admonished Omar for praying rashly in a crucial game. According to Omar, Imran Khan insulted him in front of players in the dressing room, even though he scored a 50. Now, Omar, like, the reason Imran is scolding him is because he played a rash shot at a crucial moment. After returning to Pakistan from the tour, Omar at once contacted a few journalists to tell them that he would not be playing under Khan's captaincy. He told the press how Khan had insulted him, but then went on to suggest that this main issue with Khan's team was a moralistic one. He said that the captain and his team were a bunch of womanizers who often brought women to the hotel rooms. But what shocked the press was not this, but what Omar went on to claim. He accused the team of habitual users of hashish, marijuana, and that the players often took drugs along with them hidden in batting gloves. It was Khan and his team's good luck that they had been performing well, and the press and the board had dismissed these accusations as hogwash. And yeah, they performed really well, and there was no evidence also of them carrying marijuana into the field. In fact, it was the same team that Zia would soon smoothen ties with India, cricket diplomacy. Ironically, though, Zia's regime for imposing this one myopic law after the country, he gave approval to the board to hush Omar up, in spite of the fact that he was behaving exactly the way Zia was. Ironic, actually, because Zia was promoting this, and Omar was thinking, oh, I would be able to like play the Islamic card and get sympathy. Even if what Omar claimed was entirely true, why did he have to critique the captaincy on moralistic grounds? The team was playing good cricket, and extracurricular activities did not include any more serious mishaps, such as match fixing. It seems Omar was fooled into believing that if he used the Islamic card against Khan in Zia's Pakistan, the press and regime would be more sympathetic towards his grudge against Khan. It wasn't, and Omar was banned for life. He joined the conservative evangelical outfit called the Tablighi Jamaat. Now, the Tablighi Jamaat in Pakistan is practically the Dawa organization of Pakistan. So, in the late 1980s, newspapers were rife with reports of how members of the public had begun to use Zia's draconian laws and policies to settle their scores with those they resented. Islam became a weapon in the hands of the bitter and the exploitative. Because keep in mind, Zia did receive some pushback from society, from members of the society who were fairly, I would say, left-leaning or had socialist values, or even there were some, probably had atheistic values or secular values. So there was some pushback. But I think after Zia's demise, it kind of seeped in a lot more. The number of Islamist outfits had already made inroads in the politics and sociology of Pakistan by writing on the 1980s Islamization process. But as most of them were highly militant, it was evangelical movements that managed to reap the most success in the country's mutating social and cultural milieu. I'm probably mispronouncing that, actually. My apologies, guys. I am probably, so if you want to correct me, you can correct me. And yes, by the way, tabligh, I think, Jinni, you probably know what the meaning of tabligh is in Arabic.
Yes, reporting or communicating something.
Mm-hmm. And it's called the Tablighi Jamaat in Pakistan, which is the reporting group.
Yeah.
Like they're reporting the news. By the way, Jinni, this is the same Khan who was Prime Minister of Pakistan, just clarifying.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. I was wondering about that.
Yeah. This was the guy who used to be a playboy. He used to go to nightclubs. He was a womanizer. He was a womanizer back in his day. So he became more dogmatic after the 1990s. Like he slowly started becoming more Islamic in his lifestyle. I feel like it's more of I feel like in Khan's case, it feels like he's trying to gain the sympathies of the Islamists, so to speak, or gain their trust. So again, that's my perspective. I'm not sure if he actually believes in this stuff or not. Okay, the evangelical groups benefited from another unprecedented trend that started emerging with the upper class youth of Pakistan. Never before did Pakistanis exhibit so much interest in religion and religiosity as did the generations that grew up much in the 1990s and almost all of the 2000s. The evangelists that had started to attract the middle and lower middle classes began constructing feel-good narratives and apologies for educated urbanites so that these urbanites could feel at home with religious ritualism, myth, attire, and rhetoric, while at the same time enjoying the fruits of amoral modern economic materialism and frequent interactions with Western and Indian cultures that were otherwise described as being anti-Islam. The largest evangelical group with this respect was also the oldest, the ranks of the Tablighi Jamaat. Like, it was a highly ritualistic Sunni Deobandi Islamic evangelical movement that swelled. Now, Deobandi is a movement within the Hanafi. Yes, Jinni, I think you have something about Deobandi.
Yes. Yeah, Deobandis are radical traditionalist Hanafi Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
That is to say, they follow Hanafi fiqh or Hanafi jurisprudence,
Yes.
which is the same school that is dominant in Turkey and in a lot of Central Asia. And they are also followers of certain radical traditions derived from certain traditions associated with Maturidi mixed with Athari theological thinking in Aqidah as well.
Yes.
But the Deobandis might look like a very, because they might look strange to a lot of Muslims outside of Pakistan, because a lot of in our modern day, when we speak about Hanafis, we kind of usually have this view of Hanafis being the most moderate or least extreme of the schools of Islamic thought. But traditionally, it has been actually, I wouldn't say that they have been traditionalist like the Deobandis have been, but what they have usually been are actually rather radical in that they have had this salvation theology, this view that the world is about to, end, and we need to live the most, Islamic way possible. We need to do radical changes because the end times are near. This, or we need to do these radical changes in order to bring like heaven on earth.
You know what?
These kind of theological traditions have been common, and for me, what little I've been able to look into the Deobandis, it's kind of hard because they write most of their stuff in Urdu, and the older writings have even been written somewhat in Persian too. And but my and they write very little in Arabic. But what I could derive is that they are kind of similar to those traditions, somewhat. I can't make an accurate judgment with great certainty here because I'm not an expert on this movement.
And the thing is with Jinni,
but I can say that they are similar to certain Arabic traditions at initial glance.
You remember when you said that there's this salvation thing? There's a very born again kind of feeling too with Deobandism as well.
Yes, that's very common with radical Hanafism, in that they have this: you are reborn, you are into the new, you have been enlightened.
Yeah.
And you are part of this group that is going to bring forth the new age. Yeah, it's very millenarian.
And very like there's this borderline worship of Maturidi and Ashari. Like there's borderline worship of these philosophers. I don't know much about them, but
actually, my interpretation was that they were more influenced by Athari traditions, but they certainly had Maturidism. So it was kind of like a strange mix of it.
Yeah.
Which I have never encountered in any of the radical Hanafi traditions that evolved in the Middle East.
Yeah,
so, but I mean, this is also the strange thing. I mean, when you, for example, look at this is another group. For example, the Qadiriya.
Yes,
the Qadiriya Sufis, or in the Middle East, they are strict Hanbali Sufis that are very, strict upon isolation from the rest of society. They usually live as hermits. They are, very separate from society, and they follow strict Hanbali traditions. But when you look at the Qadiriya Sufis that exist on the Indian subcontinent, then those movements are inspired by Hanafi fiqh, and they are very communal, very much interacting with society. So you have that's another tradition that changes radically when you look at it, what is happening on the Indian subcontinent and in the Middle East. I mean, the Indian subcontinent is its own universe.
It is. It really is, because how things operate in the subcontinent. By the way, the subcontinent consists of Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. So these are, and the way even Islamic preaching operates is very different from the Middle East, extremely different. So this is where Jinni is correct. Like it's almost like its own universe of sorts.
It is, and I when I just look at it, I'm just many times. I mean, you just get glimpses from it because sometimes they write in Arabic, and sometimes it's not even very good Arabic, I might add. But sometimes they do write in Arabic, and you get.
I like how you're throwing shade. Yeah, I love how you're throwing shade at them.
And not at them. Sometimes it's perfectly clear. It's just it's on a case-to-case basis, But sometimes you get some information that you can read either in Arabic or in English, and you can
Yes.
get a little bit of an understanding. But most of it is in this very closed world, and it's just
Yeah, a
I'm
lot of
not
it.
understanding anything right now.
Yeah, a lot of it is in Urdu and, like you said, Persian. The older
Yeah.
works are in Persian. The more modern works are in Urdu, and they have a lot of Urdu stuff. I should look into this stuff and see, like, if there's a future idea for like looking into the Deobandi and extreme
I,
Sunnah groups.
I mentioned to give some context about the Sufi group, the Qadiriya,
Yes.
group. It's about the fact that I actually was participating in a higher seminary
Right.
or a higher seminar.
Okay.
Not seminary because that's I mix them up in English and Swedish. A higher seminar in at university where you have the doctoral students and the professors attending and such. Where one
Mhm.
was showing his research or his research plan. He had been granted the post of researching this, and he was explaining what he was going to do, and he was going to study one of these Qadiriya movements in India. And it was like, oh, I know this group. I've encountered them a lot in the Middle East. And then you begin to understand this is like they do descend from a common original preacher, but they have differed a lot in how they interpret him and how they
Yeah.
have evolved
And I think
from
it's because
Gilani.
yeah, Amir Zafrullah like Jilani, I think in this case, in the India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, there was a lot of like heavy influence during, I think, the Mughal times, the Middle Ages, especially for centuries. The subcontinent was extremely of a different world, a very different world. Sure, you had Muslim rulers or
I mean,
Muslim.
Gilani himself is obviously, when you read his works, he's
Yeah.
obviously a Hanbali scholar. He followed
Yeah.
the Sufi traditions of Ahmed ibn Hanbal.
Yes.
And it's quite clear he actually has a lot of similarities with the Sufi traditions born from Ibn Taymiyyah,
Yeah.
which is a little bit later, who actually was inspired and actually evolved his own sub tradition of Qadariya from him, and from some other traditions too. He took a lot of various traditions and incorporated them in his traditions. Ibn Taymiyyah, actually, the traditions of Ibn Taymiyyah in Sufism actually still live, and they are actually quite practiced in certain parts of the Middle East, and also even down into Southeast Asia, in the Asiatic islands of Indonesia and
Yes.
Malaysia.
The southeastern region.
Yeah. But it's quite obvious when you read, Al-Jilani, that he is an Hanbali scholar and a Hanbali Muslim, and he follows that. But the Qadariya movement that evolved in on the India subcontinent adopted Hanafi fiqh.
Yeah, that is so weird. It is so strange that they adopted more Hanafi fiqh rather than the Hanbali.
I mean, Hanafi fiqh was the traditional fiqh of the Mughals,
Yes.
what they wanted to impose, and also of the because that had always traditionally been the of the fiqh of, what was it called, the House of Gurkani, or
Mhm. And
the
I think
back in
how
the Timurids.
yeah, and I think even how the Mughals practiced the fiqh itself was also very different. And like in general, like after Babur, like you have Akbar, who's almost like, and even uh, his son Akbar's son Jahangir, very different. Like they're seen as like a lot of their opponents see them as what do you call it, kafir, so to speak. There were accusations against them
I
for
mean, you
being
also
non-Muslims.
you have quite I mean, the Hanafi tradition is quite vast. Even I can
Yeah.
say that there are very large differences between how Hanafis during the Abbasid era, you know,
Hmm.
acted and thought about things to how they acted during the Ottoman times,
Yes.
in the Ottoman system of Hanafi fiqh.
Yes. And the
And,
Ottomans were heavily Hanafi too. Ottomans were very heavily Hanafi.
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
right?
but they were quite
Yeah.
different as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's when you look into these things and you begin to realize that Islam isn't one religion. It isn't just one, unified
Oh no, not
understanding
even
of the
close.
Sharia. It's like
Yeah. Well,
it's
as a
constantly changing traditions that have a multitude of sub traditions within them that's quite diverse.
And mind you, this is contrary to the popular opinion proposed to you by Dawa groups. Contrary to the popular opinion. The
Yeah,
1
and also
billion
quite
strong
contrary to the anti,
Yeah.
Muslim propaganda as well.
It's especially like if you see people like Jay Smith and even to an extent like some Christian preachers who will say like, oh, this particular Islam, like they kind of course, sure, when I critique Islam, I would like we go to the central text, which is the Quran, and of course to an extent the Hadith. So like from the central text, okay, I can understand this critique. The Yeah, like when it comes to like what do you call it, the 1 billion strong and like we are united, one ummah. It's like you're not exactly one ummah by definition. Like not even close. Not even close. Like even Sunni Muslims themselves are not united, even though
No.
in terms of being a sect of its own by
I mean,
population.
ask what does a Muslim in, for example, a very secularized Hanafi Maturidi Muslim from Albania, like barely follows the most basic stuff, but except maybe praying, like it's absurd, and does the absolute basic stuff, have in common with, for example, an Hanbali Athari Muslim from Saudi Arabia that is hyper strict,
Yeah.
or like someone that is a Dahiri Muslim that lives like you
Oh,
lived
geez. Let's
back
not
in the
even go
medieval
to the
age.
Tahiris. Let's not even go to the Tahiris.
They are a Sunni group. They are
That's true.
a school of Sunni Islam.
Yeah, and they're the lesser. They're like the fifth school, the lesser known school of Islam, or like you described them as like the Amish.
Yes, because
the
they
Islamic
reject
world.
most of them today reject technology.
Yeah, which is so strange. Extremely, extremely strange.
But I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, I mean, it's almost, I can't but actually respect them somewhat.
I know. Yeah, I know that one of them wanted a duel, and it was a strange story. We should cover these guys and their proposed duels. So
Yeah, because they got into and it's kind of like
so
if you are to live like Muhammad lived, then these guys do very much go all the way.
I mean, they have a point though. They really have a point. They reject modern technology because, of course, it's by the Kafirs, of course.
It's not just that; it's that they reject qiyas, analogical reasoning, by all definition.
Right.
They are hyper literalists.
Yeah, it is like they will reject even using bombs or modern weapons.
Yes, which is also why most of them are today much more pacifist. Because you can't obviously wage war anymore.
Yeah, you cannot wage war with swords anymore. I mean, unless an apocalyptic situation hits, then I think it's a different story altogether.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, all of these various groups, and even the groups that you find in India, which are, as we have already stated, quite different from what you find in the Middle East. They're all Sunnis.
Yeah.
But they are very different from each other.
Yeah, how they act is very different. Of course,
and then we haven't even gone into the Shia or the Ibadis.
Let's not even go to the Shia, boy.
No, we aren't going there. But the point is, what we call Islam isn't just one
But
big
wait,
monolithic
Ginny,
religion. It's
Ginny, wait. But Shias are not true Muslims. Wink,
uh,
wink. Shias are not true Muslims. Always remember that.
I mean, because considering how the rhetoric is among certain Muslim groups, they wouldn't even
Yeah.
consider other Sunnis true Muslim either.
Yeah, it's like if you kind of stop considering like who's a true Muslim or the real Islam, like it's like it gets more convoluted because now that rhetoric of, oh, this is this one Islam, one this of the dawa or the preachers, it's like it kind of starts to collapse in front of you. It starts to collapse. And like you start seeing that, oh fuck, like it's not even one thing, though there are common elements such as
Yeah.
of course marriages. There are common, like especially in the five major schools, including the Shia one. Of course uh there's a punishment against leaving Islam. There's the common element of child marriages. There's the common element of certain punishments, so to speak, certain legalistic punishments. That is, so you will find still common elements, so to speak. Not to say that they're completely different. There are still similarities. There are still many similarities, so to speak. So, and this is why I liked the critique of the masked Arab generally, is that he looked into the major schools mostly and their interpretation. So those are the kind of criticisms that I really like. That go kind of deep into like the different groups. But anyway, we kind of got quite derailed from our main article. But yes, let me continue with the article. But since the Tablighi Jamaat was more of a collection of a working class and petty bourgeois cohorts and fellow travelers, it in the 1990s it also began to attract the growing born again trend being witnessed in the country's middle and upper classes. By the way, this is the book that they distributed, a book that was published by the Tablighi Jamaat in the 90s to be specifically distributed among upper middle class Pakistanis, sportsmen, and showbiz personalities. And there's an Imran Khan article. The main story about Imran's emergence as a reborn Muslim and the formation of his political party. So this is in 1996. Where Imran himself became a sort of a reborn Muslim, even though ironically, man was married to a Jewish woman, ironically speaking. And people gave him shit for it, by the way. People gave him a
there
lot
is
of
nothing.
shit for it.
There is nothing against in the fiqh for a Muslim man to marry one of the women of the book.
But he was given, in my experience when I was growing up in Pakistan, he was given so much crap for this, so much so, because of like the general anti-Semitic mindset or the general anti-Semitism of the society. Okay, let's continue. The Pakistan cricket team first began to mirror the trend in the late 1990s. The Tablighi Jamaat approached the team in 1998 through former cricketer Saeed Ahmed, who had joined the outfit in the mid 1990s. He managed to gift the players with audio recordings of lectures given by the outfit's leading members. Stylish left-handed opening batsman Saeed Anwar became the Tablighi Jamaat's first recruit. He had lost his baby daughter at birth and had understandably fallen into deep depression. And I feel like at this moment, the Tablighi Jamaat preyed on him, preyed on his insecurities. Like Tablighi Jamaat members, he also grew a lengthy beard. According to former Pakistani players, who was in the managerial crew of the Pakistani squad that traveled to South Africa for the 2003 World Cup, Anwar had become a completely changed man. He told me Saeed Anwar was mild-mannered, gentle, and quiet man. But on that tour of South Africa, he developed a habit of popping strange questions based on faith and morality. Once he barged into the dressing room and loudly asked the players, "Is a woman who has committed adultery liable to be put to death?" What the fuck? What the fuck? I would have that reaction. What the fuck? Where the fuck did that come from? As usual, Most players just kept quiet or inaudibly slipped out. But I finally confronted him and asked him what this question had to do with cricket. He was livid. That was the first time I had seen such rage in him. He accused me of being a bad Muslim and I was literally foaming at the mouth. However, our manager, Shahryar Khan, had a quiet word with him, and the next day he came to my hotel room and apologized. In his most recent book, The Cricket Cauldron, Shahryar Khan explains how, on the same tour, Anwar told the players that angels would descend to help Pakistan win the cup. Angels would descend.
Are you playing something in the background?
I don't know. One second. I think something's playing in the background. Should I stop sharing? One second. Let me. What is playing in the background? Give me a second, guys. Let me just mute my mic.
No. Then it might be on my end.
Wait, is that you, Ginny?
Maybe. Let me just leave.
Try that. Oh, it's still playing. One second. One second. Let me just try something. Oh, it was the article. It was the article that was playing it. Yeah, I think it was the article. I just closed the article. That was what was playing it. I think it was an ad within the article or something like that. Oh, those are so annoying. Those are so annoying. All right, let me just get back to the. I hope something doesn't randomly start playing. So, yeah. Sorry, guys. Sorry, viewers. I just see this was.
I just thought, did I play something and it's?
Oh no, I think it was one of the ads.
Yeah. I think playing. It was that.
Yeah, my apologies, viewers.
Can you mute the entire tab for this article?
Can I mute the? Let me see.
There usually is an alternative on the. Or are you on a phone or are you on a computer?
Oh yeah. Okay, I've muted this tab. I've muted the tab.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So that way, if there's a music that just randomly plays, it won't play in the background. Okay, so let's continue with where was I? So yeah, he was livid. That was the first time so Shahryar Khan talks to him. He told the players angels would descend to help Pakistan win the World Cup. That is. Oh boy, where were those angels? Because we lost badly. After Pakistan was knocked out in the first round of the tournament, Khan jokingly asked Anwar whatever happened to the angels that he claimed would help the team win. Anwar replied,
They obviously were not on their side. They joined the enemy.
They didn't
because
come
it was
because
the divine will to do that.
Wait. Listen to his response. They didn't come because we, the team, are bad Muslims. It's like Allah. Like there's always a convenient response. There's always a convenient response. And this is what he looked like. He grew this entire beard. By 2003, Mushtaq Ahmed and Saqlain Mushtaq too had become Tehreek Tablighi Jamaat members, and so did Waqar Yunus, but he soon bolted out. But it was the dashing batsman Inzamam al Haq who became the Tablighi Jamaat's biggest catch, especially when he's appointed captain. Much has been written about how Inzamam, more than half of the Pakistan team, became ardent followers of the Tablighi Jamaat, and how he allegedly began favoring players who adhere to his beliefs and rituals. Much has also been said about how tensions developed between Inzamam and Tirway fast bowler Shoaib Akhtar. By the way, this is the same guy who was defending Danish he was defending the Hindu player, whose demeanor and disposition as a player and personality echoed the flamboyant antics of the Pakistani players of yore. What is only coming out now, however, is how the environment in the team was also experienced, the effects of the sectarian and sub-sectarian tensions that have become a disturbing norm in Pakistani society and politics in the 2000s. Violence against Shia Muslim community and non-Muslim population had been and still is on the rise ever since the late 1990s. And so is violence between Pakistan's Sunni Barelvi and the more puritanical Sunni Deobandi subsects. So yeah, there have been a lot of tensions between these two subgroups, Sunni Barelvi and Sunni Deobandi. It is the latter aspect of the sectarian conflict that seemed to have made its way into the team. The Tablighi Jamaat's members adhered to a particularly strict and highly ritualistic strain of Deobandi school of thought. But more interestingly, one of the first conflicts in the team in this context seemed to have taken place between Inzamam and Yunus Khan, both of whom followed the Deobandi strain. In his book, Shahryar Khan mentions how Inzamam was never comfortable with Yunus. Though, according to Shahryar, Inzamam was always wary of Yunus replacing him as captain. There was something else as well between them that didn't bowl so well. The irony is that Yunus was perhaps the most religious member of the team, ever since he made his debut in 2000. He prayed regularly, fasted even during matches in the month of Ramadan. Unlike the players who eventually followed Inzamam into the Tablighi Jamaat, Yunus was extroverted, very social, but preferred to keep his faith to himself. In a 2007 interview, he complained that he could not understand why this batch of players was so antisocial and refused to interact with people and players from other countries. And this was Yunus's perspective, by the way. He was never comfortable with Inzamam's insistence on holding public prayers on foreign grounds or rhetorically uttered certain religious tidbits during post-match presentation ceremonies. Like he would often say, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, thanks to Almighty Allah, always, constantly doing that, which kind of became almost of a parody. It became a real parody, to be honest, Jimmy. Apart from Shoaib Akhtar and Yunus, didn't do that, and neither does any other player who, unlike Yunus, completely fell out with Inzamam, Misbah Haq. Till the mid-1980s, the majority of the team came from urban backgrounds, Karachi and Lahore. But as mentioned earlier, Pakistan began to win more tests and ODIs than ever under Mushtaq Mohammed and Imran Khan. Cricket's popularity grew beyond major cities and reached small towns and villages of KP or Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and the Punjab. Most players emerging from those areas were not as urbane or educated as the ones from Lahore or Karachi. Shahryar Khan writes that from the late 1990s, the bulk of Pakistani cricket team began being dominated from men from small towns. And now, I get it, I know it sounds a bit classist, but men from small towns, men and women from small towns in Pakistan are generally, and I've observed this in like other countries too, are generally more religious or generally more, conservative in their values. Khan suggests that Inzamam was an extremely insecure captain. Apart from always suspecting Yunus of trying to dethrone him as captain, he was also unwilling to make those players who were more educated a part of his team. He thought that their modern outlook and educated backgrounds would be detrimental to the team's environment. Salman Butt was the most educated player in Inzamam's side and most urbane, but Inzamam never felt threatened by him because at the time Butt was too young and more so had fallen completely in line with Inzamam's Tablighi dictates. Misbah-ul Haq made his Test debut in 2001 at the age of 26, but he lost form and was dropped in 2002. But in spite of performing consistently in domestic tournaments and being on the radar of selectors, he was never selected. Khan writes that Inzamam made sure Misbah remained out. Why? Because he comes from an urban middle-class family in Mianwali in Punjab. He has an MBA, and like Yunus, keeps his religion to himself. But that's not all why Inzi and his Tablighi mentors prefer to keep Misbah out. A news report on the National Urdu paper last year suggested that Misbah, who belongs to a Barelvi Sunni subsect, refused to have anything to do with the Tablighi Jamaat, and that's why Inzamam and company made sure he never got back on the side. It is also believed that Saeed Ajmal, also Barelvi, was kept out. So this is the kind of like environment, by the way, this is Misbah, this is Ajmal, Shoaib Akhtar, and Yunus. So these guys didn't have beards, they didn't have but they were still fairly religious. For more than 200 years, the Barelvi and Deobandi Sunni Muslims have been loggerheads in the region, but Barelvis, who are the majority in Pakistan, are a lot less strict than the Deobandis. But in addition of being Barelvi, Misbah prefers to keep his faith private matter and is not demonstrative, unlike the TJ members who consciously make an effort to flaunt and exhibit their beliefs. However, in 2007, when Inzamam retired, Misbah was called to the side, and ever since, not only graduated to become the captain, but perhaps its most successful in the last 5 years. By the way, the Nadeem Paracha, when he wrote this article, this was, I think, this is a fairly older article, 2013. This is a fairly older article in 2013. But ever since Misbah stopped being the captain, the team went on another downhill from there. Boy, who is this maiden? Boy, okay, Jenny, give me that stick. Give me that stick. Give me that stick.
Here you have the stick.
All right, down,
and
boy.
You have a bit less too.
Down, boy. Down, boy. No huck to us. No. Whack. Whack. Down, boy. Down. Oh, it's exhausting with this stick.
Yeesh.
Ooh. Yeah. No huck.
We really do have a lot of degenerates today in our chat, don't we?
We have a lot of degenerates. We're talking about religious, and then there's huck to us. There's molesting, and what do you call it? Safa and Marwa as a sport. Stop, boys. Stop. Down, boy. So yeah. Back to the topic at hand. Yeah. So
I mean, you are turning us into being virtue preachers.
Yeah, you're turning us into defenders of Islam. What the hell? You're turning us into defenders of Islam. We're critiquing Islam. But yes, as we stated. Oh, by the way, there's another tweet I wanted to share with you. This is the kind of mentality that you have. So Shahid Afridi, he's a famous player, by the way, broke the TV because his daughter was performing a puja. Puja is the Hindu. You probably saw it on an Indian channel, but just imagine if he could do this to his innocent daughter, how he would have treated me. So this is the kind of mentality you're dealing with in the dogmatic circles. And by the way, I can't for the life of me find the article, but actually, you know what? This is what I found. Let me share another video with you guys. It actually is. I forgot. I had so many. This is by Haris Sultan, by the way. He said he speaks in Urdu. So I know, take a grain of salt. I'm going to translate. I'm going to try to translate as much as possible.
क्या बंदा अब इनके साथ करे यार। एक वीडियो देखे, एक बड़ी मशहूर हुई थी, पहले हमने देखा था साहब किस तरह जी, चलो आपने अगर नहीं किसी की तरफ आंखों में देखना, चलो वो भी ठीक है, लेकिन फिर आप अपनी ताकत का इस्तेमाल इस हद तक करते हैं कि दूसरे बंदे को डिग्रेड कर रहे हैं। मैं तो कहता हूँ ज़ैनब को मानना ही नहीं चाहिए था। ये इनकी अवार्ड की सेरेमनी हुई थी, देखें जरा।
So this is an award ceremony that they're doing, and basically like this cricket player is so religious that he doesn't even look at a woman in the eye who's a presenter of the award. But let's look into this.
उसको पीछे खड़ा किया।
Like he made the woman stand behind her so he could talk straight.
मैंने आपकी तरफ नहीं देखना, वो मामे तो नीचे देख ले, लेकिन इससे बड़ी यानी ये क्या ऐसा embarrassing, this is embarrassing।
तंग सारे ही करते हैं।
नहीं, नाम एक कोई नाम ले लेना, फिर जाके अपना रिवॉर्ड ले ले।
देखिए जी, जहाँ पे तंग करने वाले वो हसन अली है, जो सबको बिल्कुल खुल के भी तंग करते हैं और हर तरीके से तंग करते हैं।
This is the same guy who's, you know, like displaying his religion on the ground too, and people are praising him for this.
चले ठीक है, आप जाइए, जबरदस्त तालियां इनके लिए भाई, बहुत ही स्टेलर ईयर रहा है इनका across all the form।
लेकिन अब बाहर गए में,
yeah, you were saying, Jinny?
I was not saying anything.
Oh, I think somebody.
I was silent.
Oh yeah, I think somebody.
जी
जान के खड़ी की हुई थी, इनको कहा क्या,
Oh,
इनकी
this
समझ
someone
नहीं आई,
from the
इस
same.
इत्तेफाक से वो पीछे थी।
One second, let me
अरे
just.
यार डे मौलवी,
One
ये वो
second.
तो गोरे के आगे, हाँ जी गोरे, हाँ जी मैनहट्टन इतना भी नहीं
Look,
करना
this
चाहिए
is
ये वो।
this is he doesn't lower his eyes in front of a white presenter. Like someone saying different standards for Gores, meaning different standards.
तो
for
गोरे
white
के
people.
आगे,
So he can't make. I think he can't make the white woman do this because there's this inferiority complex. But he made the Pakistani woman stand behind him. Like what the fuck? Let me just show. There's another clip of him praying in New York. He's praying on the side of row on a New York road, by the way.
जे किसी ने लगाई हुई है कि praying on side of roads will invite a fine of dirham 1000 dirham।
Yeah, even in the United Arab Emirates, an Islamic country, mind you, if you pray on the side of the roads, you get a fine.
यूएई में उन्होंने सड़क के किनारे नमाज पढ़ने पे पाबंदी लगाई हुई है। पुलिस से such a move is
And it's like this guy's doing it in the USA.
dangerous।
इसके ऊपर ना फतावा भी है मौजूद, मुसलमानों को कोई वो मुतमैन ही है ना।
मैं पढ़ ही रहा था किसी।
One second. I'm gonna actually, you know what? Let me do the English. There's an English podcast too that we'll react to. Damn it! I lost my what do you call it? Share screen. The misogyny of a Pakistani cricketer. So this is Haris Sultan and Nuria talking.
Know how this piety display or this zealotry exhibition or this pious ostentation is celebrated in countries like Pakistan. We know the more holier, the more pious you make yourself out to be, the better you're standing. We've discussed this before. Movie stars doing it, sports stars doing it. There's this Pakistani cricketer, by the way, he's a good cricketer. And when he's playing cricket, I appreciate his skills. But
yeah. And here's the thing. We're not knocking the guy down. He's a good player. We're not knocking him down. Like, he works hard. Yeah, we're not knocking. It's just that display is just like, it's detrimental.
Such an idiot. Such a freaking idiot that you're like, somebody just tell him to calm the F down. Let me play you a video clip where, by the way, this woman is brilliant, Zainab Abbas. She is a Pakistani sports presenter. And she was such a breath of fresh air that, oh, this is modern woman who can speak good English. She can communicate well. She is getting representation in what is otherwise a very male-dominated industry, sports, especially in Pakistan. It is in Urdu, so ignore that part. So he actually made her stand behind him so he doesn't have to look at her. This is a clown here. He made a stand behind her. If I was her, I would have said, you know what, screw you. I get it. Some people hide behind, oh, this is a religious right or whatever. But this is what our claim is, that religion, especially a religion like Islam, it can make you look like a freaking idiot. Really stupid. When you go overboard with anything, you end up making a fool of yourself. He doesn't look at women. Okay, fair enough. If you don't want to look at a woman because you can't control your pee-pee and you think that you're going to burn in hell forever, okay, fine. That just shows how psychologically and emotionally you're damaged by your religion.
And I kind of agree, but also I feel like there's a second aspect to it. He comes from the northern areas. And the northern areas of Pakistan, like especially Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and what do you call it, Balochistan, like parts of Kashmir as well, from where Rizwan hails from, like the northern territories, they're very religious and they're very traditional. It's a mix of like Islam and like they're very dogmatic. The environment is extremely dogmatic. They're also, a lot of them are very like pro-Taliban as well too, like very Taliban sympathizers in that area. So he's also like a product of his environment too. Like there is complete segregation of men and women there. So it's also that aspect also plays into this, but definitely like the Islamic like extremism also plays a factor, but also his cultural upbringing too. It's both, and it's the manifestation is right in front of you. Just gonna continue playing.
But making a woman stand behind you is stupid. But look at this. A few years later, now he's got a scholarship for sports, I'm sure, because he's no genius, at Harvard. Him and Babar Azam, they've got a scholarship at Harvard. And they're in America, they're at Harvard. Look at this. Now, with a white woman, he's standing right behind her. He's, yeah, okay. All right. This is the other cricketer. He's a good guy, Babar Azam. He's not that extremist. But again, like in Pakistan, you have to display your Muslimhood. So that's a double standard. Or maybe he's evolving as a person. Maybe. Who knows?
Like it's like someone made fun of him, like different standards for Gores, which means different standards for white people.
But the reason why I wanted to show you his video is because, look at this. He's in Manhattan. There he is. He gets his camera out, tells someone, maybe a fan filmed him. I doubt it though. But he pulled over. This is his Humvee right next to it. And then he comes out of his car, pulls over. Therefore,
also, Jinny, aren't roads on the sidewalk dirty by Islamic standards?
I don't know if I don't. I have no remembrance of reading any specific fiqh about this, but
yeah,
I mean, generally, you should be clean when you do prayer and do it in clean areas.
Yeah, and generally speaking, like the streets of Manhattan, well, at least the sidewalk was not going to be the cleanest place to pray on. Know what I mean? It's like it's going to be pretty dirty. So like that's kind of an odd place to pray.
5 mosques in Manhattan, so he could have gone to a mosque, but he thought, you know what, let me just pray here in the middle of the street. This is exhibitionism, this zealotry exhibition, this holier than thou sanctimonious behavior, because he knows that this is going to win brownie points. But on the flip side,
performative.
No Hindu, no.
Yes, it's very performative, and mind you, it did work to an extent. Is that he got like a lot of mashallah on TikTok, on Instagram. There's like mashallah, like, you know, he's praying. Fucking nonsense. You know, I got that nonsense.
A Christian can openly display religiosity in Pakistan. He would never speak up for them. They say, oh, we know 2 + 2 = 4. We know our Islam is the one true religion. Why would we allow anyone else? Zakir Naik actually said that. Literally, he said that. So we
Zakir Naik said that on an interview with one of the he's one of the journalists. This journalist used to do Dr. I think Shahid Maqsood. Dr. Shahid Maqsood. He used to do these programs on like the end times, and he was very like. He was kind of bordering Deobandi, but he was also bordering like Barelvi, kind of like Hanafi, very Hanafi type of guy, but no beard or anything like that. And then he gets shocked when Zakir Naik tells him, yeah, we should not allow Christians to build their mosques, build their churches in Pakistan. Or we should not allow them to build a church or a synagogue in an Islamic state. He was shocked. He's like, how is this fair? And he's like, because Islam is true. That's what, and he says it in like Urdu, right? Like Zakir Naik. So it was just so like baffling to Shahid Maqsood, a person like him. So that's the kind of mentality, by the way, that Zakir Naik brings to the table.
Should be allowed to go and display our religiosity anywhere in the world, but no one else is allowed to do that in our Muslim countries. That's the behavior. And look at this, UAE praying on side of roads will invite 1,000 dirham fines. It's not allowed, but that's the beauty of these Western secular liberal countries. No matter how stupid your religion might be, they allow you to do it.
The UAE, honestly, you don't need to be praying on the side of the road in the UAE. There's like a mosque like every 100 yards. So
literally, that's also true. In the United Arab Emirates, why aren't you going praying in a mosque? There's also prayer rooms assigned in airports, in hospitals,
in offices.
In offices, there's a prayer room assigned. So
yes,
you praying on the street does make zero sense.
It's just performative.
Yeah, and even in offices in Canada, for example, like you like even if you don't have a prayer room, like your bosses will actually go above and beyond to say if you need to pray or on your lunch break or something like that, provide a space for you or something. And it's like, you are playing on the street is just so performative.
really, I don't know why. Unless you're on the Sheikh Zayed Road for miles, I don't know why you'd need to be doing that. But that was a UAE article with the picture of.
But that's the only point I'm making. Obviously, for example, this guy, look, you could argue, who can forget this one? This guy who prayed.
What is he doing? What is he doing?
In New York City. At the back of the cab.
No, he's not.
Yeah, this went viral. This is
why. Of all the places, you could have sat inside the car and prayed sitting down. Like, because Ginny, there's usually also a method of praying sitting down too, so you can get away with that. So it's like, why? Why are you doing this?
Again, you're doing it just for the performance to show off how pious and virtuous you are. It's virtue signaling.
Yeah. Also, let me show you another clip, by the way. This is Mashallah cricket team on the ground praying namaz. Oh, yeah, by the way, this is the last video we're going to do. Mashallah. And then, oh my gosh. Like, and then they hold this whole Jamaat over here. Of course, Rizwan's the leader. And it's like, Mashallah, Pakistan cricket team offering prayer during press session. It's like, Mashallah. Beshak. Beshak means no doubt. Namaz is the best solution to all problems. Oh boy. Person needs a wake-up call. Mashallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them. It's like, oh boy. Oh boy. Oh man. It's like even Rizwan ne Imam al-Haq ko wuzu karwaya, mashallah. It's like you could have gone to the washroom, It's like, it feels like they have a PR team ready to display this. But
they probably do have one.
Yeah. And it's just a reflection of Pakistani society. Like, the more display you do, the more points you get in the public's eye. But anyway, we are 10 minutes to close, like a 2-hour mark. We should wrap up. Ginny, I know you've been silent. I've been kind of doing most of the talking. But do you have any closing statements?
Yeah, I actually got in more points and more on my viewpoints on these matters than I thought I would, considering that this is cricket and I have had no interest in cricket or no knowledge
Knowledge.
even about the rules.
Yeah, but you actually got to see a lot, like, you know, a lot of like, because I promised you, because this is talking about the inserting not only just into cricket, but also like this Pakistani society in general. It is just a reflection of the society and how like the angels descending to win the cup, but they failed to do so. Remember, Jindy?
Yeah.
Oh man, oh man. But yeah, and we got some interesting clips and stuff, and you know, it's funny. But have you? I know you mentioned like you've seen this stuff in Sweden too. So like, how bad is it in Sweden though?
I mean, it's not something that is, publicized or people say it
Mhm.
like this. It's not that religious of a society, but
Yeah.
it is kind of like standard that you pray before a match.
Yeah. Like, there's nothing wrong with praying before a match. Just like publicizing it and like,
Yeah, that isn't present in, Sweden at all. This kind of
yeah,
PR stuff. No.
yeah. And it's become very unique to Pakistan as well too. Maybe to other countries. I remember the Iranian soccer team or football team used to do like the matam, but like uh, it's just so weird. Like the religious displays, I just find it so weird, honestly. And yeah, I think this was an interesting look into the Islamic team of Pakistan, which brought victory. By the way, back remember that guy who said, "Oh, it was a victory for Islam when Pakistan beat India in the World Cups." India has beaten Pakistan 8 times, and Pakistan managed to beat them only once. How is this a victory of Islam? You tell me. Jenny, you there?
Sorry, I was cutting out. I have a bad connection.
That's okay. That's okay. But yeah, what do you think? Is it a victory of Islam, winning only once and losing 8 times?
I think it was the will of God.
Oh my god!
I mean,
It is a test from Allah.
this is also why you should never mix religion and sports.
Right? Right? Should never mix in.
More than possibly doing some, discreet prayers if you believe in that stuff. That's
Yeah.
fine. But do not make it into a peer stunt. It is only performative. It's very. But I mean, it's very hollow. It's not deep religiously. It's more
Yeah.
about scoring points from an
Yeah.
audience.
Absolutely. By the way, thank you, Jinny,
Better
so
to
much.
score points in the game than score
Right?
points by
Right?
performance.
Score the points in the game. Don't score points via just your display, you know? It's like that's what your job is. But yeah, thank you, Jinny, so much for joining in today to my like ridiculous ideas of videos. And what do you call it? Thank you for putting up with my humor, my cringy humor.
Yes.
So, and thank you, viewers. Thank you, Even Made in Canada Productions. Thank you, Mulahid Islam. Thank you guys for joining us. And thank you, Prophet was not a child molester, as Hadith says. We won't be at Discord, but I'll try to do.
I will be at the Discord a little bit.
Join Jinny at Discord. Join Jinny at Discord. I have to like do some errands, so to speak. Again, my apologies for not being consistent with the videos. Again, life has just taken over, and my apologies, Jinny, like to you as well. Like I haven't been doing much either because just life just takes over. But we'll do as much as I can.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Jinny, so much. Take care, Jinny.
Take care of yourself.
Take care of yours.